Welcome to Compliance Scenarios, the third unit of this course. In this unit, you will apply your knowledge of advertising requirements and prohibitions to analyze a series of fictional case studies that highlight some potential consequences of noncompliance. The case studies will require you to determine compliance issues and review potential outcomes for registrant actions. You may also be required to make recommendations on corrections or compliance. This is an optional review of advertising requirements in REBA 2002. Click the arrows at the bottom of the page to learn more. Otherwise, the seller, a condo developer, signed a representation agreement recently with Bryce and his brokerage. Bryce proceeded to market and sell the units of their newest residential condominium building, still under construction at the time. Bryce listed the units on the MLS. The only two-bedroom penthouse unit in the building was listed for $595,000. The buyers found the penthouse unit listed online and asked their sales representative to contact Bryce to submit an offer for $589,000, which the builder accepted on a Friday. Saturday morning, the buyers saw their unit listed in the real estate section of the local newspaper for $559,000, significantly lower than the MLS listing price. On Monday, the buyers rescinded their offer for their penthouse unit, well within the 10-calendar-day cooling-off period, and walked away from the deal, in accordance with the Condominium Act. Initially reluctant to state their reasons, they eventually admitted that they felt deceived by the newspaper ad featuring a lower listing price. They felt they had grossly overpaid for the unit. Next morning, the builder submitted a complaint with RECO against Bryce and his brokerage, enclosing the original listing and the newspaper ad with a much lower listing price. Consumer Protection Ontario, an awareness program from Ontario's Ministry of Government and Consumer Services, explains cooling-off periods for residential condominiums. According to the website, when you buy a newly built condo, you have the right to cancel the purchase within a 10-calendar-day cooling-off period. The clock starts from the time you receive a copy of the fully signed purchase and sale agreement or the disclosure statement, whichever comes later. You also have the right to cancel a sales agreement within 10 days after any material or significant change to the disclosure statement. If you cancel, the developer must refund any deposit plus any interest payable. Deposits must be held in trust. Where did the problem originate? The correct response is the last option. The error is in the newspaper ad. The buyers made an offer based on the listing price in the MLS. Soon after, they saw the newspaper ad featuring a lower price and, feeling deceived, walked away from the purchase. Bryce checked all ads and realized this was, in fact, an error, since there was no agreement to reduce unit prices as listing time advanced. The ad was also non-compliant as it did not fulfill the minimum requirements. Even if unintentional, errors in advertising can affect many other aspects of the trade. Tracing the problem may improve advertising processes and increase compliance. What are some potential outcomes for this scenario? The best responses are the first and last options. The seller, in this case the builder, may sue Bryce and his brokerage over the error as it caused the loss of one buyer and may also affect consumer demand in other units. If the buyer submits a complaint with RECO, it could result in sanctions, fines, or other disciplinary measures for Bryce and his brokerage. All registrants, the brokerage, broker of record, and individual salespersons or brokers are responsible for advertising compliance. As a result, they may all face disciplinary or other consequences for their role in the matter. Passing on the blame to others does not reduce your responsibility to ensure the ads are free from error, fraud, or misrepresentation. What corrective actions could Bryce and the brokerage take to remedy the situation? All options but the last one are correct. Bryce and his brokerage should correct the ad. Then, they should contact any other consumers who inquired about this unit to advise them of the error, done through the cooperating sales representative, if applicable. Bryce may be able to negotiate a better price or conditions with the original buyers, also through their representative. This may help mend Bryce's relationship with the builder and reestablish trust in the brokerage. Registrants involved should respond honestly and promptly to all requests and inquiries from RECO when investigating a complaint. An ad review will do little to change the current situation. It is a technical review, not a formal approval. While RECO can review ads before they are published at the request of the broker of record, RECO cannot verify the accuracy of information such as price and property features. Registrants are still responsible for ensuring accuracy of all information in ads. What is the cost of noncompliance in this scenario? RECO may impose sanctions, fines, additional educational requirements, or take other disciplinary measures on all registrants involved. Bryce and the brokerage may lose some potential clientele. Unhappy consumers often share their negative experiences in social media. In the age of 24-hour instant communication, online comments can quickly reach thousands and may live online indefinitely. The builder may also stand to lose clients as demand in the units may be affected by negative publicity. Also, all charges, convictions, and discipline decisions are posted on RECO's website. The potential for resulting loss of income and damage to the registrant's reputation is great. Noncompliance is inconvenient, expensive, and may negatively impact your business reputation. Harry and his wife Lydia are both salespersons employed at XYZ Realty Inc., a brokerage. Harry copies another brokerage's listing for a commercial property with several units for lease and posts it on the website he shares with his wife. Harry's website displays no information on the listing brokerage or on Harry and Lydia's brokerage. Since her clientele is quite diverse, Lydia translates all listings into a multilingual language page on the same website. The following week, they both field calls from a few interested parties wanting to view the units. Harry leaves a voicemail for the listing salesperson to book an appointment. Not familiar with either Harry or Lydia, he does a quick online search and finds his listing, unauthorized, on their site. He is furious. What are the main compliance concerns in this scenario? All responses are correct. Harry and Lydia's website does not satisfy the minimum advertising requirements because it displays no information on their own brokerage and it does not give advertising credit to the listing brokerage. They have acted unprofessionally by passing off the listing as their own. Although you can link another brokerage's listings to your own site, prior consent from the listing brokerage is required. It must be clear whose listing it is. Upon review of a complaint, RECO may also find that the brokerage and broker of record failed in supervising them and ensuring compliance with REBA 2002. What are some of the potential outcomes for this scenario? The correct responses are the first three options. The brokerage and the broker of record are responsible for ensuring all registrants employed by the brokerage remained compliant. They could be held liable, fined, and disciplined. Harry and Lydia may also be held liable and fined or disciplined by RECO, in addition to facing legal action from the listing brokerage. They intentionally left out required minimum information on the ad and neglected to credit the other brokerage or obtained consent for linking the listing, proving that this was not a misunderstanding. What is the cost of noncompliance in this scenario? The listing brokerage may choose to submit a complaint against Harry, Lydia, and their brokerage, including the broker of record. RECO, upon review of a complaint, may impose sanctions, fines, additional education requirements, or other disciplinary actions on any or all of them. The brokerage could impose their own disciplinary actions or take other measures against Harry and Lydia. Even if Harry and Lydia deleted the posting, it may continue to exist on the internet. This is another example of how non-compliance is inconvenient, expensive, and may negatively impact your business reputation. If you would like to learn more, click here. Jose is a registrant working mostly in the residential sector. A former client has contacted him seeking tenants for his new commercial warehouse units. Jose and the owner sign a listing agreement, and he proceeds to market the units using a specification sheet provided by the owner. A few days later, a flower wholesaler contacts him to lease a unit. He signs a customer service agreement with Jose. The flower wholesaler explains that he needs a unit with an HVAC system in the flower storage area that can maintain a specific temperature range and humidity level. He tours several units and decides on one based on the data sheet provided by Jose. After signing the lease, the customer proceeds to occupy the premises in preparation for a flower shipment. His manager informs him the unit does not have the same HVAC installations as described in the data sheet. The system is unable to maintain minimum temperature and humidity. He wants to get out of the contract, placing Jose and the owner in a bind. What did Jose do wrong? The correct responses are the first two options. Jose did not complete the necessary due diligence. He did not verify the features and specifications of all units against the information provided by the owner, his client. He then transferred the wrong information to the listing, which was carried through to the lease agreement. The flower wholesaler, Jose's customer, trusted he had been given accurate information and subsequently made a costly business decision. He is now bound by a lease contract but can't operate his business out of that location. Although it was the owner who provided the wrong information, Jose is responsible for verifying the accuracy of information in a listing. This situation illustrates the importance of carrying out required due diligence because an error can easily spread from one trade document to the next, having significant legal implications for all parties. Keep in mind, aside from advertising issues, other compliance obligations will apply. What are some potential outcomes for this scenario? The best responses are the first and last options. The tenant may decide to sue the landlord, Jose, and the brokerage for losses incurred, as he cannot store his goods in the unit. In addition, he could file a complaint against Jose and his brokerage, which could result in sanctions, fines, or disciplinary measures from RECO. Jose failed to provide conscientious and competent service to his clients and customers. He did not make an effort to prevent error, fraud, or misrepresentation. Jose and his brokerage are not free from responsibility because he failed to determine material facts on the property. What corrective actions could Jose take? The last three options are correct. By taking no actions, Jose and the brokerage may send the message that they do not take responsibility for their mistakes. Jose should correct and repost all ads for the sake of accuracy and risk mitigation. He should also try to solve the problem in a transparent manner, bringing all parties together to find a mutually acceptable solution, such as upgrading the HVAC system. Reporting this as a circumstance that may evolve into an insurance claim is another sensible and proactive way of dealing with this situation. What is the cost of non-compliance in this scenario? While Jose is open to assisting consumers in both residential and commercial transactions, due diligence and service standards should never suffer at the expense of sales. Jose may not have intended to mislead anyone, but he was careless and did not carry out required due diligence in determining material facts. The service he provided to both client and customer was neither conscientious nor competent. RECO may find that Jose and his brokerage provided false information in advertising and may impose sanctions, fines, or other disciplinary measures. The broker of record and brokerage may be held liable for failing to ensure compliance. Jose may also face legal action from the landlord and the tenant. Rachel is a broker of record. She was contacted by Melissa, an acquaintance who wanted to upgrade to a larger home. Rachel referred her to a salesperson at her brokerage who could handle both the sale of her current home and the purchase of the new property. The sale of Melissa's current home went through very quickly. Several weeks later, she made the winning bid on a larger home and, after a quick closing, moved in. Checking her emails a few days later, Melissa finds an e-newsletter sent by the listing brokerage of the home she just bought. It features her new home advertised prominently with an image, a specific reference to the neighborhood and street address, the number of offers submitted, and the final price she paid as a percentage over sales price. She never provided consent for these details to be published. She is livid and contacts Rachel immediately. Who was the non-compliant party? The correct response is the last option. The non-compliant party is the other brokerage. They listed the second property that Melissa purchased. They published the ad without Melissa's consent. Rachel and her salesperson have no control and possibly no knowledge of the ads published by other brokerages. However, it is reasonable to expect Rachel and her salesperson to be their client's first point of contact, even for matters beyond their control. What actions, if any, could Rachel take at this point? The first two options are correct. First, Rachel could approach the other brokerage directly to request corrective action. Failing that, she could file a complaint with RECO. Taking no actions will serve no one. Even if the trade is closed and commissions were distributed, Rachel and the brokerage should consider Melissa's best interests and the important role the brokerage plays in consumer protection. Taking action can help the brokerage maintain a solid business reputation. What corrective actions should the other brokerage take? The best responses are the first, second, and last options. In addition to offering Melissa an apology, the brokerage that listed the home that Melissa purchased should immediately remove reference to her new home in their ads. It is unclear how the listing brokerage obtained Melissa's email. Registrants must take care when collecting and using personal information, as targeted advertising could violate prohibitions to communicate with another registrant's clients and may also be a breach of laws, such as PIPEDA and CASEL. Waiting for a problem to disappear spontaneously will do nothing to solve the issue, and may anger parties further, creating more problems. The other brokerage should improve its internal ad review process to ensure it has proper consent prior to identifying parties, properties, or details of an agreement. RECO provides an ad review service for unpublished ads. RECO offers many resources on its website, including the advertising guidelines, the advertising checklist, social media for real estate professionals, as well as bulletins and notices on specific advertising compliance issues. There are additional requirements for commercial electronic messages and privacy of information imposed by other legislation. Click the buttons to learn more. Do you want to promote your business with an electronic newsletter? When contacting clients electronically, don't send commercial electronic messages without the recipient's consent. Provide an option for the recipients to decline the message and/or unsubscribe. identify yourself and your organization. Be truthful in all advertising. Failure to comply with CASEL can result in harsh consequences. Those found to have breached the legislation can face fines of up to $1 million for individuals and up to $10 million for businesses. PIPEDA contains very specific details as to what information can be collected, used, or disclosed about a client. Organizations must protect personal information in their control from unauthorized access, collection, use, disclosure, copying, modification, disposal, or destruction. Consumers have a right to ask and know why and how their information is being collected. Businesses must obtain consumer consent to collect, use, and disclose information. What is the cost of noncompliance in this scenario? Rachel or her client could file a complaint with RECO against the listing brokerage. Upon review, RECO may issue a warning or pursue other sanctions, fines, or other disciplinary measures. If the listing brokerage is misusing personal information or breaching regulations on commercial electronic messages or consumer privacy, they may face additional consequences from other legislation. Non-compliance in advertising can adversely affect a registrant's business reputation and future prospects of professional growth, not to mention the bottom line. Beyond costs to business, advertising compliance is closely connected to consumer protection. Advertising in real estate provides information that assists consumers in decision-making. With decisions in real estate ranging from hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, the impact of advertising cannot be overstated. You have now completed the third unit in advertising compliance. In this unit, you applied knowledge of advertising requirements and prohibitions to analyze a series of case studies dealing with advertising noncompliance. These scenarios illustrated the potential for disciplinary action leading to fines, sanctions, legal proceedings, and ultimately, consumer dissatisfaction. Even without direct involvement in advertising decisions, brokers of record and brokerages may face disciplinary actions and other negative consequences if they fail to ensure all employees remain compliant. Refer to the course resources for more information. When ready, click Exit to close this unit and proceed to the next unit, Compliant Advertising. Welcome to Compliant Advertising, the last unit in advertising compliance. After reviewing leading practices in advertising, you will apply your knowledge to design and build a series of compliant ads. How do you make sure your advertising is both compliant and effective? Before you begin thinking of images, messages, layouts, or colors, define an advertising plan with clear goals and a realistic budget. It should be part of a larger marketing strategy for your business. Once you have a plan in place, you can focus on specific ads. There are 4 main steps for developing your ad: planning, designing, editing, and final review. Click the button to learn more. Otherwise, click Next. The first step is to plan your ad. Consider the type of ad, media, and intended audience. The type of ad you are designing will guide your initial considerations. Is it a sold card, a website, a for sale or open house sign, a new social media platform, or a billboard? Then, determine your target audience: age group, gender, concerns, habits, preferred media, etc. Does the ad type complement the audience? Next, select the media. The best media should help you accomplish the ad's objectives. There are many types of media in the 3 main advertising channels: online marketing, websites, social media, and email campaigns; electronic media, TV and radio; and print media, newspapers, sold cards, magazines, signs, billboards, etc. After determining the type, audience, and media for your ad, create the content. In other words, draft the message. Who or what is the ad promoting? Have you tailored the content and message to your audience? Have you considered how the content will display in the media you've chosen? Does the content require clarifications, disclaimers, or additional information? This will lead you to the most important aspect of the ad: compliance. Start by fulfilling the minimum requirements. Next, comply with prohibitions and restrictions in REBA 2002. Depending on the type of media, you may face additional requirements from CASL, PIPEDA, or other legislation, including municipal bylaws and regulations. Are there requirements from the brokerage, boards, or other associations? This may be a good time to consult with your broker of record on all requirements to capture. Once the content is developed, proofread it to ensure it is fully compliant and factually correct. Next, you will have an opportunity to create several compliant ads. As you complete each ad, address compliance requirements and leading practices. Start with a standard business card. Enter your information in the fields below. This is a basic but compliant business card fulfilling the minimum requirements, one of which is to clearly and prominently identify your brokerage. Click the check marks on screen for a review. When done, click Next to continue. Design a compliant Sold Properties card for a brokerage. Click to select one of the images on the right for the Sold Properties card. Do you have the required written consent to identify the property, parties, or contents of the agreement? Requirements for consent depend on who the owner is at the time the ad is in effect. Is this a generic quotation? If so, it could be perceived as misleading. If these are actual clients or customers, is this a photo of their current or previous home? Did they provide written consent? Is consent required from the other party to the trade? Design a compliant billboard. Select the best promotional statement for your billboard. This is not the best option. It is misleading. Is this a standard commission rate or a limited offer? It is not enough to use as low as unless the same rate is charged in all transactions. You must disclose any terms, conditions, or circumstances in which the commission rate charged would differ from the rate advertised here. Ensure all billboard text, such as a disclaimer, is legible to motorists. Select the best promotional statement for your billboard. This is the best option because it clarifies when the special rate would or would not be available, explaining the terms and conditions that apply. Ensure all billboard text, such as a disclaimer, is legible to motorists. This registrant wants to add promotional statements to his Facebook business page. Click Next to assist him. Choose the best comparative claim for this sample Facebook business page. Facebook. Any posts that promote a property or business should include all minimum requirements. Facebook URLs do not have to be your name, but cannot appear to be that of another registrant. Keep separate personal and professional accounts. This registrant wants to add promotional statements to his Facebook business page. Click Next to assist him. Choose the best comparative claim for this sample Facebook business page. This is not the best option. The investment guru statement is misleading because it does not prove how these claims were made. Comparative claims must disclose the basis of the claim, the details of the information used to make the claim or comparison, and the specific source of the information. Review this sample YouTube ad for compliance. This is not the best option. Choose the best comparative claim for this sample Facebook business page. This is the best option. It is an acceptable comparative claim as it discloses the basis of the comparison or claim, including the information used to make the claim and the source of the information. Review this sample YouTube ad for compliance concerns. YouTube. If not already displayed in persistent headers, videos must display the minimum requirements long enough to be read or heard. Obtain required written consent for images and text. Avoid false, misleading, deceptive, or unprofessional content. Keep separate personal and professional accounts. Which of the following are compliance issues in this YouTube business page? The first and last responses are correct. Stating that technology will sell properties faster and for more money is misleading. Videos are a common and useful tool for offering virtual tours. They are also subject to compliance requirements. Consent is required when identifying parties, properties, or agreement details. If the header at the top of this page did not include the minimum requirements, the video would need to display them long enough to be read by the viewer. This is a registrant's Twitter page. Review it before advancing. Twitter. Your Twitter username does not need to be your name or the brokerage's name, but it cannot appear to be that of another registrant. The profile name must be your name as registered with RECO. The bio section must include all minimum requirements. This way, individual tweets don't have to include them again. Tweets should be accurate and not contain false, deceptive, or misleading information. Keep separate personal and professional accounts. Select applicable compliance considerations for this sample Twitter page. For Twitter, your username does not need to be your name or the brokerage name. However, your profile name must always match your name as registered with RECO. The bio section must include all minimum requirements. This way, individual tweets don't have to meet the minimum requirements again. Tweets must always be accurate and not contain any false, deceptive, or misleading information. You can review some compliant sample ads and compare them to those you have just designed. These samples are in no way prescriptive. Everyone will have different thoughts on what looks and sounds good. Use them as a starting point for compliant advertising across different ad types and media. The use of new media in advertising can be effective, but there are important compliance considerations to keep in mind. As a general recommendation, it is best to separate personal and professional accounts in social media. Compliance in digital media and social media platforms is not always straightforward, as their use often presents unique limitations. To ensure compliance, you may need to add custom elements. If in doubt, consult with your broker of record who may ask RECO to review draft ads before they are published. If you would like to learn more, click here. You will be able to return to this and any other completed course until your registration has been renewed or reinstated. You have now completed Advertising Compliance. Unit 1 reviewed the importance of advertising compliance and the minimum requirements in Section 36 of the Code of Ethics. Unit 2 reviewed prohibitions in REBA 2002 dealing with confusing terms, requirements and restrictions on consent, and other issues. Additional requirements were also discussed. Unit 3 presented a series of fictional case studies highlighting disciplinary, business, and financial implications of non-compliance. This unit provided an opportunity to build and edit a series of ads following a brief review of leading practices in advertising. Thank you for completing the Advertising Compliance course. To access additional resources and reference materials relating to these topics, select Resources. If you are not certain that your ad is compliant, ask your broker of record to review it. If unsure, they can request RECO to review any unpublished ads. Please select Exit to close this unit and proceed to the mandatory continuing education declaration.